Welcome back to Mark Haney, igniting the entrepreneurial revolution with the Haney Biz Project.
Welcome back to the Haney Biz Project, brought to you courtesy of Hub International. I'm Mark Haney, and today I am joined by Dr. Tracy Shafizadeh. How you doing, Tracy?
I'm doing great.
You are in charge, in some ways, of the scientific communications.
Absolutely.
So why don't you communicate to us what the overview of your company is?
Great. So Evolve Biosystems, we are a microbiome company, but we are specifically focused on the microbiome of newborns.
Okay.
So if microbiome is a word that this audience or you are not familiar with, it's the collection of bacteria that live in and inside your body.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're
my
really
microbiome's not feeling that good right now. Sometimes when I get nervous before the show, it does that to me.
Yeah.
But you are specifically focused on newborn.
Yes.
Okay, so talk to us about this challenge that a lot of babies have. So they don't feel good, or they have stomach problems or digestive problems when they're born. What have you done to attack that problem?
Great. So the interesting thing about our gut microbiome, or the collection of bacteria in our intestine, is that we actually are born a blank slate. We have no bacteria at birth.
Oh, wow.
We acquire those bacteria. We get those bacteria from our moms during the birthing process, the messy, beautiful birthing process, or we acquire bacteria from our environment if we're born by C-section. And if you can imagine, those are two very different populations of bacteria.
Oh,
or
yes.
collection of bacteria. That we get.
My thinking is like there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. The stuff you get directly from your mother is better than the stuff that you get from the rest of the world when you're that age.
And we really didn't understand that until recently. There's a lot of research behind our company coming out of UC Davis. We're founded by 5 UC Davis faculty.
Wow.
And they really were starting to understand that there's a big difference in the type of bacteria and what path you will be on for the rest of your life in terms of health and disease based on the collection of bacteria that you start with in the very first 6 months of life.
Wow. So if you get the right bacteria in the first 6 months, you're so much likely to be more healthy even later on in life?
That's what it looks like. So there's a lot of research now trying to exactly understand what bacteria you need at different times in your life. The interesting thing is that biology and nature and evolution has done a fantastic job of making sure that the bacteria in a baby's intestine gets the exact food it needs from mother's milk.
Okay.
So this beautiful relationship between mother's milk and gut bacteria forms the perfect situation for the baby's intestine, and then it grows bacteria that are important for setting them on a path for lifelong health.
Okay, so now this is a business show. I'm envisioning these 5 academics from UC Davis. They're smart people, create this or begin to understand this problem and this issue and how they might overcome it. How'd you turn it into a business?
Right. So that's the trick. Exactly. So you can be sitting on the most amazing scientific discovery for years and never actually be able to turn it into a viable commercial business. So that was really a pivotal point in our company's history, is using that foundation from our founders and bringing in the right commercial team to turn this into an actual brand and get this information out to moms and the people who need to use our product, and doing that in a way that turns it into a viable business. And that's been a trick.
And that's been a big part of what you've done since you've come on board, is help turn this into a business. And I know you have one product right now that's available on the market. Tell us about that product.
Great. Okay, so as I was mentioning before, we have a lot of ways to completely disrupt the gut microbiome very early in life. C-sections, formula feeding, antibiotic use, these are things that change the population of bacteria in your intestine, and newborn babies need very specific bacteria to help with programming their immune system, programming their metabolism for life. And so most babies in the United States actually do not acquire or do not get the right bacteria from mom anymore because of many of these medical and dietary interventions. So what we do is we have a product, it's Evivo. Evivo is a daily powdered version of the live and active bacteria that you can give back to baby to make sure that they have the right bacteria in their intestine in that first 6 months.
So I take the Avivo, the powder, which I tasted earlier, which tasted very good. It actually reminded me of Lucky Charms a little bit, which I really like. But the idea is to take that powder and to mix it with breast milk,
Exactly.
right? And the combination of those two have some kind of effect on the baby that is game-changing.
It's game-changing. So this is how it works. Moms can go to avivo.com. They can order their starter kit, which is a box that arrives at their home, cold shipped, because this is live bacteria. It needs to be in the freezer as soon as they get it. They put it in the freezer. They can use the little kit that we provide for them, these daily sachets that you open up almost like an emergency packet, and you sprinkle the powder that you tasted. You're very brave.
I love the taste. Now, I saw the kit online. It's like a little dropper, right? And is that what it is? You put it in the child's mouth?
You take the powdered sachet, you pour it into the little bowl that we provide for you, and then you mix with a small amount of breast milk, 3 to 5 mils of breast milk.
Little baby cocktail
cocktail.
makes him a little bit more
Exactly.
healthy. Wow, that sounds pretty good. Now, so I'm picturing myself as a little kid. I'm still breastfeeding, right? So I guess I'm a little bit older. And at that time, in my mind, like the kid. What happens when he begins drinking like out of a cup, and maybe he's still breastfeeding, an older child still breastfeeding? How does that work?
Yeah, so honestly, this is something that in most of the feedback we're getting from moms, this is something that it's such a small volume that they mix 3 to 5 milliliters of breast milk. If you think about it, that's just a very small volume. Finger feeding the baby and just getting that little bit of volume into the baby's mouth, and then following with a normal nursing session or however the baby wants to consume the remainder of their breast milk. That can be with bottle. But this is a very small amount. You wouldn't put this in a bottle and give the product to the baby.
Gotcha. So in thinking about this, it couldn't have been easy going from building out the product to taking it to market. And we asked the question at the beginning of the show about failure. And do you believe that there's good kinds of failure and bad kinds of failure?
Absolutely.
Okay, why do you think that?
I don't feel like you're pushing your boundaries and to your limits unless you fail. Otherwise, if you stay in a safe space where you're not failing, you're certainly not learning as much as you can.
Yeah.
And I think it's only failure if you don't learn something from it, if you just walk away and feel disappointed and sad. If you learn from it and then go tackle something again with that learning, I think that's the best outcome.
Well, when you first launched Avivo, what happened? Did sales skyrocket, or did you have to figure out your marketing strategy through a little trial and error?
That's a great question. So we are completely e-commerce.
Okay.
So our products are at avivo.com. We can also find our products on Amazon. But the first week of launching this, and it's all digital, if you can imagine, we're watching Google Analytics every second for days. And if we don't see an uptick in sales the way we want, we then go in the website and we tweak something, and then we watch and we test. And it's this iterative process that we're just literally on minute by minute tweaking and testing.
I love it. Now, you were successful in winning the Sacramento Innovation Awards. Stoll Reeves puts on this big event every year. They bring in the Business Journal. They bring in Moss Adams and put together this big event. I happened to be the MC last year. I've been demoted now. I think I'm a judge now. I think that's what happens to the MCs when they get tired of them.
Yeah.
And you guys are bringing on Scott Moak this year, a great announcer with the Sacramento Kings, and you guys are presenting this award to the next Evolve, right? So talk to us about what Stoll Reeves is doing and what this powerful team is doing and what it was like to win that award.
It's absolutely an incredible experience to take it from our small little office in Davis where we're talking to a few people a day to being able to tell our story to a much bigger and much better connected audience through the Sacramento Innovation Awards. And since then, I feel like the opportunities to be on a radio show have just started pouring in. And I really believe
you're becoming famous all of a sudden.
Sure, yes. And it's and you being the host, I will say I have never forgotten your energy from
last year.
Oh my gosh! So
if there's one thing that I do is I bring energy. You might not like being around Mark Haney always, but I do tend to try to bring some energy. And I mean, that's what you have to do when you're launching a business as well. I mean, so you have had to bring some energy. It sounds like you and your team brought energy to Evolve, and look what's happening for you today.
Yes, and I would say that the fact that many of us at Evolve are mothers ourselves and who think to ourselves, if I had known about this 5 years ago, think of how different my children's health could be.
You bet.
And that drives us every day in our passion for the mission of our company.
And I think when you and I first spoke about this, I was excited about this as well because my grandson Rocco, about 5 years ago, he just would not, he would not gain weight. He was, it was one of those kids that always need to be held. And it was why? Because he's not getting enough to eat and nothing seemed to work. And this is a way that it sounds like may have affected his ability. I mean, he probably had a stomach problem, and if he could have got some relief, that would have been so helpful for him.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank you, Tracy, for coming on the show. I also want to give a shout out to anybody who's thinking about coming out to the Innovation Awards. They're November 7th. I will be there as a judge. You want a little more Mark Haney? You want to hang out with me a little bit? You want to hang out with Tracy? Come see us at the Innovation Awards. I know there's a way to sign up for it online. It's Sacramento Innovation Awards, sponsored by Stoll Reeves. They brought on Moss Adams and, of course, the Sacramento Business Journal to help put this thing together. And, Tracy, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, sharing your story, but also I think a story that is so helpful to society, helping these little babies to be more healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When we return, I will be bringing on Marcus Haney, and of course, I will be bringing on Mito Eldon, and we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, a little bit about failure, especially when you're kind of like what Tracy said is, it's not always easy to try to figure out the right scheme when you're going through your marketing efforts, and we're going to talk about that after the break. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com. This is the Haney Biz Project.